you make videos. Although some people may laugh at why this guy talking about buds, which is a D word because they do not use their brain. They're all negative because you have a word called creative, and we need E and F and G. I believe creative mind thinking like I'm thinking right now come from God. So for the hospital that produced them fake doctors, going back from the I to the J, back to Darius, the 37 Eastbourne Drive, we put them together and get this thing straight and understanding the clue that Darius is also one impersonator coming off this girl that you actually asked it for a date. Coming back from that bus stop. So while you're watching the bus stop, you understand the terms and the realism of what you learn. So the girl actually impersonate the two media or more media, coming back from the face, the style, the dressing, and the songs that play and what she does, what you don't know what she done, because you're not God in that concept mind or frame. So this is an example from the Waza, not Gaza, because Gaza, when you copy and say the same name, following the same group, that's blasphemy. So the correct term for that group is the W, Waza. Water is a system that you need to understand that the guy cannot make. The sky is also blue that impersonate the sky, leading up to space. The freezing cold back to the earth. So you get back the sea concept and the sky concept. Whatever in the sky is in the sea. Whatever in the earth is in the earth. So the guy does not understand, cannot bear fruits in that way. So don't care and no fear. You understand the word of conception come from word. So this is also a letter that K and L does play off in alphabetical way. So understanding that the time and you will need back some type of a date to work out your plan with the number one with the F. So to be in Father, to be glorify my Father up in heaven, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name and thy kingdom come. You learn just now by repeating back what you said by making videos, realism. Now when you spell God, you get the answer of the warning coming from Elizabeth. So Elizabeth Gravestone in Falmouth, Parish Church, Trelawney, where you can cruise ship yourself off, or you can fly the plane there, or you can follow Matthew concept if you like the media in that way. So mind you, there's cruise ship, Disney Cruise Line, Nautica, Oasis, going there. So if the Spanish to the fly doesn't get the concept and what he did and touch my ass, that's the warning coming from God in a way. So God give you learning and understanding whether you're in school or in any what way. It's called Jesus. And when you're Jesus, it does get time and trust and tree and trillion, table. All the T come after the S as though the guy spells street and you have a car in that way. So being realistically in that way as though I'm wearing a Jesus image and this is a t-shirt. Realistically. So understanding the terms of drug and you get the terms of the ABC effect and it snowball into a what you know into what is not realism. So coming back from that girl with the L and the K, the family probably cave into that drug effect and then it leak off back into what the guy producing around the round table coming off the government talking beer shit in that way. So being not a beer person, because I never really drink beer, only from the cheap kind, the Canadian. So being realistically, I never drink a red stripe. But this is not a channel that's talking about beer, conception of the wolf. E and then F and then the G and then the one in the alphabetical way. So learning the alphabet, as all the back of the Bible having the word alpha, and you can stick a bet that you can get the meaning of life in three what way. So being Jessica in the classroom, learning from that girl, April 20. Also, the name considers the hottest for a date. So when you're considering a date, you think for the hottest name, because the date alone makes you feel fiery. So in that way. So when you spell life with 4 letters you can, and the E conception is end. Coming back from the warning from Elizabeth Gravestone teaching you. So when you break down Elizabeth from 35, you get 2. And the Gravestone does break into. Coming back from the newspaper, that's a different kind of setting up. So I set up things like bombs in that cave. You have to have that creative mind thinking to create items upon items that can break the D word in that sense. So when they say bombs, that mean bombs that can be mindfully pressed without you thinking clearly of anything else but that guy's a D word. So using the Bible and having example coming back from that building that you can walk and feel and touch, as though you can feel a gravestone in Parish Church, Falmouth Trelawney, the lowest looking place, coming back from the James Bond conception, the first James Bond that died, well, close and near. So Elizabeth teaches you with that gravestone. The 68 was the ending, coming back from the 35 was the warning from the 3-3. And you learn that from Mr. Darius doing the bullshit. And the Darius sign is 1 and 1 with the 9 and the first. So he's the first white D word in that sense to call that number. And it interplays in the order. So if the guy denies that he's not number, he's not really following the rules of life and under the influence of the cocaine, which is a drug, or probably any other drug out there. So learning the drug is a substance, not like drug mart, but when you learn the word drug, you does get the H and the I. So the guy needs to understand the thing in that way. This is a ruler, so when you get the R, the ruler is straight. So the bending effect is going on because you're bending the ruler in your own way. But ruler is always straight, and for you to get a straight line going on in life, you follow the rules. As though you go to any place, you follow the rules, because as general talking to you with God. So being not of God, the face, and learning that Christ, the impersonator, which was Selassie, you get the 6 feet concept. So you learn things every day. So once you impersonate Jesus, you might die under the number 5. Once you think you're God, you might get the number 3, like Mr. Bob Marley with the Jah. So he understanding Jah is also God, but the mind frame is not interplay into the world. So God let the guy know you may be looking, talking, but the action is not fitting to the feet. So to get the warning, learning Elizabeth, God, God over the D word, to break it down in Jessica formation. In that way, God means God over D word. So once you choose the D word side, you're already in the dead sector, as not Elizabeth dead, 68, which I wouldn't want to die at 68. So you learn the maths up of the Alice and Joseph. There's no ages. 100, and then the next gravestone is 3. That's dead, looking gray, and the brickstone that's looking kind of brownish and yellow. My picture's inside, so you do not feel any type of weakness, because that's realism and that's brave. Coming from Darius with the Bible 911 and shit, that's realism. So there's no fear coming from anything, and if you imply fear upon anyone, that's stealing somebody's fear, so you give them back in that way. That's God. So when I reach the heaven gates, I did not steal this guy fear, because he implied that I'm scaring the fellow out in that way. So you show realism. When you spell God, that's good over D word in that way. And you get that from that GG, learning. So anyone who doesn't like the word good is not of God in that way. And anyone who doesn't like the word God is not even living in the world in that way. So being not a blackout, getting the idea, no lie. So once you get the conception from the song No Lie, that's a phrase. So people may be lame, like the churchy fellows who do not understand, coming from that nation that runs, and they imply things in the brain. So for them to understand the finger, you spell life, you can lose the life through the finger like the Bob with the toe. So I won't go out in that way. As though you get the example with the guy with the scissors, you will never take a thread and a needle, like the battlefield show you with the cannibal beef in that time period. Not in present time period. When you walk to Castle Roma, you get the whole concept of the K ration and the toffee and the shoes polish and your little book that you have to use. That's my liking. You learn shit in that way. So this is an example. So 2 years ago, oh God Save a Life, which is God is my King, and this is Christ. And then the Maple Earth give you back the little red book to God plan, not you planning shit. So you do not plan shit in life. You show example. So the star coming back from outside where you can walk to sunrise. Like who let the sun rise? Coming off that simple phrase. You're not looking at people's food from the restaurant. You're just using the phrase. Who let the sun rise? In that simple way. The word sun, rise, as though the D word eats there. So the star is an example from my own arm that God created. So I do not create this arm and I cannot fix it like a surgeon and thinking I'm God. So that doctor to the J, civic up, and I tell them in Amazon like twice with the beds, so they cannot lie coming back from the social media, my Twitter account, which I kind of show some shitty images, back to the art pal because that's how I work out my thing myself. So being of a father myself, God is my father in that way, and that's the number one. I've every father themselves in that way. Because I buy my own shit and everything. So being God is my father, Mary is my mother, in what way? I do not put my earthly mother in front of Mary. Because Mary come first as the alphabetical order teach you with GG. You learn that conception with the 2M. You have the capital and you have the capital. Always, that's the alphabet works. When you're doing Jesus, it's all capital. There's no more common in the J like that doctor does. Having no eye or understanding to bear the fruits or to eliminate that big girt looking thing on his face, boiling over into a cancerous lump. So that lumpy doctor is like a little seed, doesn't understand the concept of I to the J, and it brings you back to that room, the St. Elizabeth. So for you to get the answer, who killed Elizabeth, the guy has to calculate the 37 Eastbourne Drive, back of the Bible with Darius, driving around in the same patrol vehicle, under the influence of the drug, and he's going to tell you that's not his number, which is a lying D word. So to get the answer, G, and an O, and then D concept. And then that's the blackout darkness. You're going to the darkness, coming off Darius, and then coming off the 146 Baycliff Crescent. You miss the sign with the crosses. You're giving you a sign saying you're in crisis. On the vest, there's a T. So you do not have the understanding. His vest has a little T, and he's giving the card crisis. So you're going to the H word place called hell. So that's the simple little rules and regulation that the guy missed in life of simple not being intelligent, but acting intelligent. As one of your comrades asks, what are you going to do with the paintings? And with a G, they're supposed to be hung in somewhat way. So being a person that doesn't understand ABC from that nation, that implies that they do not learn ABC language. The numbers do not lie in that way. Using silly check, and that is real, it proves that the number is real. So my finger is an example with the ink. You say ink give cancer. So being not a person like Bob, I wouldn't want to shoot somebody and catch cancer, and not following God and catch the cancer in what way. So Mr. Perky Feet, Mr. Nike No Shoes, this is a scissors. You get the concept of who saved my life, departing from Darius, and we record the guy's voice coming back twice, not seeing any Christ because he does not believe in the word Nazareth, coming off Nazi. Nazareth is the abbreviation word of Nazi, and Gaza is real as in the beer sign. So whatever that guy is talking is all non-effect. Those people are mindless people, like the girl with the blue wig going on. She boxes up herself to the point that she has to die that way, looking like a celebrity, but really not. The money and the funding coming realism from all that Rastafarian garbage should be building up the place looking like Miami if they're really in control and in the right state of mind. Back to the runner in the bushes. There's no tower coming up and you claim that you're rich. Realism. So the Bible beat that guy in every what way. 9 and 9 and 1. I do not call that number. I deal with those peoples in any way. And I never know the guy was a world recording holder, the number 98 or 95. Still don't know 98 or 95. Bragging and boasting. When you spell the word hype, he's an idiot and a stupid. I'm Napoleon 20, wise to the fool. And not being a talkative individual, you just learn shit every day, like them parrots that you sell on May 1st. Give you the concept of May to the back. Talking to 146 be a different. I think the guy would want one of those vehicles, Mr. Infinity, and he went and called the cops. Impersonating the same guy who impersonating the sign. I observed the hands with all type of water and bumps coming from stab upon stab, and the guy's under the influence of freezing himself, which is understandable because you have files of different type of drug. So we have different type of drug, what the effect is, what you have to go through, where you're going to get the funding, rehab, kind of medicine. So there's different type of a drug, anger. Remember, you have different type of anger. Progressive anger. Some people hide their anger. It's called mass anger. So mass anger is an example of the guy talking in your face and he's angry. And then one day he's just going to explode, just like that. That's mass anger, coming from progressive anger. So, and learning drugs, caffeine is also a drug. So you learn the GG concept from coffee. It's also a stimulant to the brain. So when people like their coffee in the cold and not hot, you understand the person is of this kind. They will sit in your face, even write notes, claiming with God's love. Not talking like Jerry Springer or any type of shit, but it's realism. Coming back from the July 3rd, as though you came into Canada July 3rd, 2005, you enter in that newspaper, 2005, November 27th, which I don't care. That's just an example with the gravestone, break in two, so you get the concept. You getting shit like Jessica, like bombs. They can break it down in different ways. So this is like Maple. This is embarrassing because the guy asking you to go through the machine to test what's inside of you. It's only gas. So for him, probably powder or some shit on the plane, which you have example of guy overdosing themselves. So this is embarrassing. And going there over twice and being back to that place over and over is kind of the fingerprint and the DNA and the PO. The PO, which is a 666 mark. So God always let you have to deal with these D word. The 666 mark PO before the African, the panic one. Because there's the African that caused the whole interplay. So she claims that she's African and she ran away. Really don't care because Elizabeth teaching you. The voice. So being example, again, this is 37 Eastbourne Drive, the address with Mr. Darius. So Mr. Darius hiding the truck. His signature has the landlord with the 888 and his friend, who the Mr. Door, standing by the door, impersonating Superman when he looking like Mr. Bean. He's a mole to the rat with no media interplay. So imagine how brave we feel. He impersonate with the age. Well, the ages of time come from Jesus and God in that sense. And the magic and miracle come from outside the 37 building, leading you back to the 4. And he's the first guy, not the Mr. Bean, but Darius, number 1. So thank God for the Bible in that way. So not being following any churchy individual, like the ABC conception and shit of that guy who let you baptize in that way. So I re-baptized myself because the guy's an African, imitating, wannabe king of how he speaks every Sunday. And his church is breaking down. The Rastafarian deleting themselves. So having the idea again, for those people who impersonate that this guy cannot do nothing, that's pushing violence, and violence leading to loss of time like this is no good. So for them peoples, if they can do 24 years, not 25 years, 24 years and remember the day, like this paperwork states with the PO and shit, then you're just imitating D word, setting yourself up like a little shit for time to be plucked off like ducks in that realism way. So if the guy cannot do 24 years, as in Maple Earth's real lockdown and finding ways of how to get out, then I don't know, you're going to work out your shit in that way. So coming from that nation that runs, that loves to impersonate jail, and the orange clothes that come in mind when you watch a documentary thinking you're hardcore, that's just lame. With the guards are running and shit. So Mr. Waza using the term Nazi, that's just marketing phrase, and it brings him back to the gravestone. If you ever catch you over the churchyard, you're not standing there, and that's realism. And that bull should be running and rolling just like a madman in that town. He should be rolling like a stone. So when you see him on TV, he's only impersonating fake images. So realism. So this is a 24 statement, and for that guy who understands the stab in the arm, you get the conception. So we only deal with orange kind of paint that can work out money and money plans, and money is a way. So when you spell the word financial, you get back an L and M. So the ABC concept coming back from not spending money from that place. If you understand that waste man thinking, you waste time, you waste money calling lawyers, violence, pushing for no reason, and you get your family into shit, that interplay. Because the people don't continue on with that shit in life. So being at 40 years and crying like Jesus show you, those things have to get the concept of Elizabeth, the warning. And they probably sit there thinking that they're hard to the core under the influence of rum and not caring. So for that guy or them peoples, they have to get the state. And you're not a perky face in that way. So being face to face, Caravaggio to Michelangelo, those are the people with the mind thinking that this guy's painting some naked boy. So you get the concept of Caravaggio, the 39, coming back from the Christ. Christ created Caravaggio, and Caravaggio created Christ's image. So Christ's image, so if the guy doesn't get it, you have to explain the artwork. Leonardo teach Caravaggio and Titan and the whole line of work. So Christ created Caravaggio, and Caravaggio created Christ's face in embodiment of image and paint and pigment and drawing and shit. And this is the book of the Louvre, which I use. As you see, it's kind of ripped, so it's not my book, but I kind of study the painting and learn Daphne, the painting Daphne and Apollo and shit, coming back from the documentary with rockets. So watching the media, I kind of like that concept with Apollo and Daphne. So you interplay back with Bernini and see the stupid Mother Mary I have to deal with copying the same type of name. And it does work out like that. So being real with my cup, this is not my coffee, but the mountain is blue. Back to the place that called this phrase sunrise. So it's only right for me to use back the mountain blue coffee. So for them peoples, you get the concept. The mountain is not blue, but they're thinking kind of like that granny kind of pitching off way. For you to pitch them off in that way. And when you pitch off something, you get back the cricket effect, the 6, and the birthday, Monday to Saturday, the 6. So no 666 mark in that way. And you should learn everything like cricket, sports, running, flying kites, baking, cooking, apart from stealing. And those are the Kingstonian people from long time in that way. So not picking on any peoples, it does show. That's my box is more real. And those are fragile, weak D words. Imitating, because the city to the town. So it only make you look like a clown in that way. So being studying, you learn the concept of where you get God, and God mean good over D word, devil in that way. And you learn the Elizabeth warning, that she get the warning at age 2 probably, or God let something happen at age 2, leading up to age 35, and then 35 leading up to age 68, and then that's it. And that's the warning, breaking down what you learn through painting. So you have the conception of the dead, ABC like Paul Walker, example easy, of how the peoples can die like Mr. Selassie with the 6 and the 8, and you learn whatsoever you impersonate. If it's Christ, Jesus, anyone out of the 12, that's how you die. So me, not the Father, I'm mixing up myself, both Spirit and Son. Those churchy people are also the same as that Waza, or the Rastafarian in that way. So being April real, Nazi is the real thing, and if it wasn't for April, then you'll be in the shit all over again. So thank God for April and not being a hypey, and thank God for Jesus and Adolf. And don't remember your name, because you're not that important in that way. The Jesus face is more important globally, so I won't want to trick by any D word and catch the cancer. Because I'm not Jesus. I'm only the Christ King representative in that way. And Christ with the king, and the devil should work out the thing going on, interplay with Adolf's spirit and the whole thing like that. It does work out in that way. So the 3 and 3 concept going on. And you does get the 3 and 3 with Herman. So the Herman to Sherman, you get the concept. The tongue has to get some ego thing swooping over your head. So Gerwing, Herman, coming from Germany. So the G before the H. And the Adolf concept with the G and the alphabet works out in that way. So learning God, and then the D means the 3 warning, and that means dead. And you get life. So probably God and life put together. That's 7 letters, and which lead you back to the word heaven. When you sound Job and Job. So Job and Job is 2 simple ones like the gravestone break in 2.